Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told out of Voice of Radio, so today we need to take a little bit of a look at something pretty gosh darn important. We've got a Paldea Evolved update. We've got new news about Paldea Evolved, and that makes me pretty gosh darn happy. That is, of course, the second Scarlet and Violet set, which has been confirmed for an early June release date. Which is kind of cool, honestly, ladies and gentlemen. This is kind of cool. June the 9th, if anybody's wondering or anybody's forgotten. And we can start off with, well, frankly, the last product that we needed to be revealed for Paldea Evolved. The last one I can remember, at least. And that is the Check Lane blisters. I know. How lovely. We now have confirmation that the Check Lane blisters will feature Arboliva and Pawmot. And these are ones we've seen for a while at this stage. Essentially, what we have here is one pack, and in addition to your one pack, you get yourself a full evolution line of a Pokemon. I want a coin. The coins are still here. You get a Quaxley coin. Feel free to be happy about this. What I do find very interesting here is that we are finally in Scarlet and Violet. Remember the Scarlet and Violet Check Lane blisters, they actually had to use older cards because they always use a previous set for this. It's never the most recent set, the new set. But there wasn't a most recent Scarlet and Violet set. Scarlet and Violet went old. It was weird. Here, we're in Scarlet and Violet cards, but we're in Scarlet and Violet base. It is the Arboliva from Scarlet and Violet base, and it is the Pawmot from Scarlet and Violet base. And that makes absolutely perfect sense to me. This is good, ladies and gentlemen. This is good. So the Arboliva, if anyone's forgotten, has an ability that once during your turn, when you evolve into this, you may heal all damage from one of your Pokemon, which is kind of cool. I mean, getting a Stage 2 out just to heal one of your Pokemon does seem slightly over the top, but this is still pretty gosh darn cool, and we still like this very much indeed. And then we've got Free Energy 150. Let's not talk about that. It's terrible. But we also have Pawmot coming in here. Who doesn't love a bit of the old Pawmot? And let's face it, right? Pawmot is a card that Pokemon are pushing kind of hard at this stage. Like, really hard at this stage. This is one that we're seeing over and over again. I think this is one where we're going to see like a billion different cards of it. So if you are a Pawmot fan, wonderful news. If you're not, gutted. But who's not at the end of the day? Now, interestingly enough, this is actually a card that got itself a pre-release promo. So now you've got that one as well if you want. And what you can do is search your deck once during your turn for a basic lightning energy and attach it to this Pokemon as an ability. We've then got free energy, 230, discard all energy from this Pokemon, which is interesting because you discard free energy, and then you've got your ability, and then you've got your attachment for the turn, but you don't have the third energy on there, which is honestly kind of disappointing. So I'm a little bit hesitant about this one, frankly, ladies and gentlemen. No, I'm sorry, that's a lie. I'm not hesitant. I don't like it. I don't think it's a good card. But I'll tell you this now for nothing. I would be absolutely delighted if one of you lovely ladies and gentlemen would prove me wrong and show that this is, in fact, a very good card indeed. Now, one of the other cool things that has gone and been revealed, and this one we can deal with nice and quickly, are the European versions of the Koraidon EX and Miraidon EX tins. We don't have very much we need to say about these. They are the exact same tins we showed you the other day, just a different configuration. These are the portrait ones that have 4 cards in, rather than the landscape ones that have 5 cards in. They're cool, honestly. And now, for Crown Zenith, this wasn't the case. But for most sets, we end up in Europe with the portrait ones. You guys get the landscape that have the extra pack. It doesn't really make a huge difference. What's important is that you do have these alternate arts of Koraidon and Miraidon, which is important because, come on, they're beautiful cards. And yeah, this is lovely, ladies and gentlemen. This is absolutely lovely. They're coming. Yay! And yep, yeah, I'd love to tell you more about it, ladies and gentlemen, but the fact that they're coming is unfortunately pretty much the news. But we do have one more thing we can have a little bit of a chat about today, and that is the first ever Cereuledge card. I believe it's the first ever one we've seen. Obviously, Armarouge came around in Scarlet and Violet base, and even had that rather lovely alternate art, which was really cool. Yeah, Ceruledge got kind of left out. And we saw that set name Ruler of the Black Flame. And I did suggest that that could kind of fit with Ceruledge, but I also told you that, you know what, if Armarouge just was in a set, this is probably not getting its own set. That would be unusual. It's not exactly what we'd be expecting. So wonderful news, ladies and gentlemen. We don't have to wait till a future set to get our hands on this. We can have it right now. Now, I am delighted to say that I did translate this card all on my lonesome. It's not the most complicated one ever, but that's not the point. I translated it myself, and I'm very, very proud of me for being able to do so. We got 140 HP, which is quite nice. We got a Psychic Pokemon, as is expected, which means, you know, the whole resistance to fighting, all of that. And for 2 colorless energy, you deal 50, you heal 30. It's not exactly jumping out at me. What I will say is, however, that Armarouge does have a really nice ability that moves fire energy from your bench to your active Pokemon. And it doesn't have to be your active fire Pokemon, just has to be your active Pokemon. So you can move fire energy from any bench to any active Pokemon. It just has to be basic fire energy. And that means that you can use that to get the energy onto this, which is kind of cool. And then you're rolling. You're only hitting 50 damage, but you are at least hitting a different weakness. We like being able to hit another weakness. That's pretty good. And you know what? Yeah. This is kind of cool, ladies and gentlemen. This is kind of cool. As for the second attack here, we've got a Psychic double colorless, 100 damage. But if your opponent's active Pokemon is a Pokemon EX or Pokemon V, you deal 100 more damage. And this is where I start getting kind of excited about this card. This is where it starts getting pretty gosh darn interesting to me. Because frankly, 200 damage is a decent amount. Now against Pokemon V, it's actually not enough. That is kind of important. Against Pokemon V, you generally need to be hitting 220. This is obviously only hitting 200, which is obviously not enough. But it's also worth bearing in mind that you will here have Choice Belt. And Choice Belt's great. Choice Belt's wonderful. And that'll help, honestly. It's kind of as simple as that. You whack Choice Belt on there, you do an extra 30, job's a good un, move on with your life, we are happy. So against Pokemon V, you're actually doing a decent amount of damage, and you're hitting quite nicely. And we like this very much. This is lovely. Against Pokemon EXs, now, weirdly, a lot of the time, they actually have 210. Not all of them, but that is kind of a bit more of an average here. Which means that Hawlucha, which also incidentally does have a pre-release promo, comes in very, very nicely here. Because Hawlucha can come in, drop 10 damage on 2 bench Pokemon, and now all of a sudden, they're all in range of this, which is great. Now, the bad news is Hawlucha does only hit the bench, which means that you need to kind of get this before they're active, or, you know, do 200 and flick them to the bench and then ping them with Hawlucha, which is awkward, especially if they try healing or anything along those lines. I'm not saying it's perfect. I am, however, saying that the cost here is not terribly high, and this is a decent attack. And once again, this evolves from the same basic as Armarouge. You can get the fire energy over, and I notice it's a psychic Pokemon, but if you have a look at the attacks, first attack, 2 colorless, so that can just be fire. Second attack, psychic double colorless, so sure, you will need to get a colored energy on there. But you can always even muck around with that new Luminous Energy card we're getting. Luminous Energy is any energy, but it doesn't stack. So if you've got any other special energy on there, it's not coming in Scarlet and Violet base, by the way, it'll be in Paldea Evolved again. But if you've got any other special energy on the same Pokemon, then it's just a single colorless energy. which is obviously terrible. But you don't need any other special energy, ladies and gentlemen. You're good. So this actually works out pretty gosh darn nicely. And I could see this being a thing. I could see combining Arm Rouge and Ceruledge here just into, a bit of a deck and having a bit of fun. I don't think it's a game-breaking card, but I do think it's interesting. So I'm giving it a nice, ordinary, everyday, run-of-the-mill, simple garden variety, free Wassies. It's one that I've got my eye on, and maybe it won't end up being good enough, but I do think it's one to keep an eye on. Right, there we go, ladies and gentlemen. Now it's over to you guys. Tell me what you think about this. Tell me if you're going to get the chat name blisters. Tell me what you think about Ceruledge. Tell me what you think about the tins. Tell me anything you want to tell me in the comment section. Go nuts. Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at @TheWassie. That's where we talk about Pokemon and all kinds of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, join a Discord, all kinds of fun things. Oh, and you can get shoutouts on the channel, like the lovely Koraidon, who's been a supporter of ours for a while and is a very lovely person. So thank you very much for the support and for being a very lovely person. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.